So it is Palm Sunday, and I was walking the dog earlier. I was looking at all these clover that are blooming, and on this whole area here, this back hill, and some of these other weeds with white flowers on them, and they give, like in the front yard with the forget-me-nots that I told you about, they give the bees some very early flowers to eat, to get whatever they get from them. We don't put chemicals down, so we don't have just grass in the grass. We have grass and flowers, weeds and flowers and things that have flowers. So today's reading, I've saved a lot of the old missals because the readings are still the same, even if the dates don't correspond. So today's gospel is from Matthew, and it's the Passion narrative. And while this is not, I don't think, the important part, this is something that stuck out for me. So Jesus has just died on the cross. He gives up his spirit. And the next thing we read is, "And behold, the veil of the sanctuary was torn in two from top to bottom. The earth quaked, rocks were split, tombs were opened, and the bodies of many saints who had fallen asleep were raised. And coming forth from their tombs after his resurrection, they entered the holy city and appeared to many." So we were talking to the youths, and our one of our new young priests, we were discussing this gospel and what stood out for most of us. And I don't know if it was me or someone mentioned this part, and we were asking, what gives? What's going on here? So I'm just going to read it and see if I can follow. What the words seem to say. The veil of the sanctuary was torn in two from top to bottom, and this was the moment that Jesus gave up his spirit. So Jesus dies, and basically the veil was super thick. I think it was like 18 inches or a foot, a piece of cloth that was so, it would be very, very hard to cut it. Anyway, it opens up. Behind that veil is the holiest of holies, the inner sanctum, the inner altar. And once that's open, then it's opened up to the rest of the world. So sort of we got a metaphor there. It seems like heaven was opened up to earth. This veil was opened up to the Holy of Holies where God was. So you have a parallel there. And then it says, rocks were split, tombs were opened, and the bodies of many saints who had fallen asleep were raised. So here it is. It's Friday. It's, 12 noon or 3 o'clock in the afternoon? I forget which it is that Jesus actually died. And at that moment, the saints, the bodies of many saints, many, not all, but many, who had fallen asleep were raised. So they're in their tombs, and their tombs were opened, and they were raised. So I guess that means they were alive. And coming forth from their tombs after his resurrection. So his resurrection is Sunday morning. So we're talking, let's say, 12 o'clock Friday to 12 o'clock Saturday, 12 o'clock Saturday to sunrise on Sunday. So roughly a day and a half, 36 hours. What were these saints doing? And then coming forth from their tombs after his resurrection. So they came forth from their tombs. They entered the holy city and appeared to many. So when Jesus resurrected, they came forth, they came out of their tombs. So I guess they were just sitting there for 36 hours. They came out, they went into the holy city. Again, Jerusalem is often compared to heaven. Jerusalem is God's holy city, right? And heaven is where God lives, right? So we also draw a parallel to Jerusalem, or the New Jerusalem. I forget how they say that, but Jerusalem has parallels to heaven. So they came into the holy city, or they were ready to enter heaven because they're saints. So if I'm reading this right, First off, we know anyone who's a saint is in heaven. So if they were saints, they were in heaven or on their way to heaven. So that could include, would that include people in purgatory? Yeah, not sure. Anyway, so they who had fallen asleep, and they appeared to many. So they went into Jerusalem when Jesus rose. And then my guess is, after Jesus is on the earth, I don't know how long did they visit people? The same time Jesus was on earth till Pentecost? What is that, 50 days or 40 days later after he rises? 50 days. So were these saints roaming as well? Seems like that would have been a bit distracting. But, so either the saints went up closely after that, shortly after. Maybe they stayed the whole time Jesus was here until Jesus goes up to heaven. So anyway, just some thoughts on this Palm Sunday, something that's not exactly the focus of the gospel, but just something that I was thinking about and came up in discussion. Maybe you have an idea. Rose from the tombs, which certainly is not the focus. Obviously, the focus is Jesus, but so happy Palm Sunday.